It's gonna be different this year. We're gonna be at Donnie's house again this year.
Not one, but two nights.
nights. Yeah, you're definitely gonna want to be there for sure. It's gonna be fucking A1. Be there, be square.
No! How is Nickelodeon Guts number 5? Wow!
No. Oh, he tried it.
Please don't try this at home.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, the best one, Donnie, here with...
What is going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. 1/3 of We Are Wrestling. I'm a little bit late, man. I just got out of the shower. So give me some fucking slack.
That's right. And before we get into this live extra on the We Are Wrestling channel, if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, the best way to support us is by hitting that subscribe button now, turning on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real. And we appreciate everybody that's going to be tuning in to this live episode of the Extras. We figured that we would do an Extras today because there is a lot of non-WWE news that I feel like we need to cover. And obviously, we want to save the WWE news for Friday on our regular episode of the live We Are Wrestling podcast, which will be coming out on the We Are Wrestling channel immediately following SmackDown, which there will be a live watch along for SmackDown too. So the grind is real for Mania Week, Danny.
Absolutely, bro. I'm fucking pumped up, man.
I am very pumped up as well because we got some pretty interesting news that we're definitely going to be covering and talking about on here. And we want all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs at home watching, literally the 5 that are watching right now live. We want you guys to interact with us down below. And yeah, I say, we get into this. What do you say, Danny?
I say we get into it, man.
All right, so the first topic that we're going to be talking about on this We Are Wrestling Extra for this week, Matt Cardona has been, getting some criticism for a recent interview / tweet that he posted earlier this week about pretty much throwing shade at AEW because, of course, in 2020, Matt Cardona, had a short run in AEW after getting released by WWE. And pretty much, in the interview, here's what he said. And I quote, "Cody Rhodes right away put me in a contact with his agent, gave me some great advice, but like in the wrestling business, if a producer or an agent is giving you feedback on a match, sometimes that advice doesn't work for you. I realized I didn't need an agent. I wanted to be that guy in the trenches. I wanted to be that guy doing the numbers and negotiating." And here's the quote that ruffled some feathers, Danny. "Looking back, a blessing in disguise. If I had signed with AEW then, I'd be on fucking dark. No offense to those guys, but that's not what I want. I was already that guy in WWE. How do you feel about these latest comments made by Matt Cardona?
Well, I mean, nobody really wants to be on dark, you know. I mean, I guess you can sort of say it's like a developmental territory for AEW, under the same umbrella, obviously. More so dark than dark elevation because they usually record elevation before Dynamite or whatever on Wednesdays. Um, I mean, he doesn't want that for his career. I don't necessarily blame him, but on the other hand, I actually wrote this in the group chat yesterday. You know, he didn't want to be stuck wrestling on dark. But yet he wrestles for NWA, which I don't even think it's the fraction of the viewership that any AEW territory gets. You know, so it's kind of weird to me. I mean, I'm still a huge mark for Cardona. I'm not like, I don't take this offensively or anything like that because I am an AEW fan. But, I mean, it's his career at the end of the day. If he doesn't want to do that, and then he doesn't have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I totally understand where you're coming from. And obviously, we're going to be talking about that in a moment. But now I want to give my thoughts on the comments made by Matt Cardona. I think there's a lot of hurt AEW fans that are really taking this out of proportion, the comments made by Matt Cardona. I
Mhm.
understand where he's coming from because, of course, in WWE, he was that guy wrestling on Superstars and Main Event. That's pretty much AEW's version of Dark, is Main Event and Superstars. That's
Yeah.
usually the shows that take place usually before AEW Dynamite, or, they do the tapings at, or Universal Studios in, one of those rooms there. So I understand, like, Matt Cardona doesn't want to do that and probably wrestle, on the pre-show before the actual show. And I think in AEW, just like his run, it didn't work because it wasn't natural. Like, Matt Cardona became the best version of himself when he went on to GCW, because even,
Mhm.
he was signed with Impact Wrestling and he was doing stuff as a babyface over there before some of, the things that he did in GCW. But when he went there, that's where he really started to dip his toes in the independent wrestling circuit. And that's where he started to, become trending again on Twitter and really started to, be known as the guy, and really proving to a lot of these, Zack Ryder marks out there that we were all right all along, that this man deserves so much more than what he was given.
Exactly, and I don't know. Matt Cardona, he obviously he made a name for himself in the independents. He became what is known as the belt collector because he, GCW, Impact, all these promotions all around the world. He pretty much started collecting the belts. And I remember this one story that he had like four or five titles on him at one time. And I remember in an interview or something or a podcast that he did, he said that he texted a picture of him with all the titles and sent it to Vince McMahon.
The stuff that he's been doing has been so trending, and I really hope a lot of independent wrestlers out there are really taking notes, because Matt
Mhm.
Cardona, especially in GCW, pretty much before the Jericho Appreciation Society and AEW, because of course, Jericho and them, they call themselves the sports entertainers.
Yeah.
Matt Cardona was doing something very similar in GCW, calling them the GCW universe and, turning the GCW World Heavyweight Championship into a spinner title in honor of his
Mm.
friend John Cena. And even, dressing up as ECW 2008 Vince McMahon with the do-rag and, all the black stuff that he was wearing.
Yeah.
Matt Cardona has, done a fantastic job, reviving his career. And here's why I think, a lot of people are throwing this out of proportion. I know you mentioned NWA and Impact Wrestling because, of course, they're
I
not
didn't
really
want to.
averaging as
I
much
want.
as
I wanted
AEW.
to elaborate a little bit on that before you start or whatever, and because I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, they do get a more viewership, but I do understand why Cardona wants to work for NWA because of the rich history attached to it.
Here's the thing that, like, I wanted to, bring up as, a solid point here. Because unlike NWA and Impact Wrestling. AEW, yes, you have more, eyes on you. But the problem is if you're performing on just Dark, all you're really doing is getting your reps in. Impact Wrestling and GCW and NWA, on the other hand, Matt Cardona, is going to be used more properly because not only is he going to be able to get his reps in wrestling matches, he's also going to be able to do promos, backstage interviews, also compete for championships, which NWA, even though I don't like Billy Corgan's NWA and having Tyrus as the fucking 10 pounds of gold, at the end of the day, they do have the 10 pounds of gold, and that does have some value. And something Cardona said, I believe, on Chris Van Vliet's podcast, Insight, he said, even if you don't watch NWA, you know who is the 10 pounds of gold champion if you're a pro wrestling fan, which is, very true. In AEW Dark, you have to realize there's no championships. There's really, nothing that they're competing for. All they're doing is just getting reps. NWA, Impact, at least they have storylines. At least, they're being seen more than Dark.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think people need to, stop taking things out of context. If you hear somebody say something that you don't like, go to the original source, listen to the full interview or read the full interview or whatever it is, and come up with an explanation for yourself. Don't listen to other people. Because I do feel like in today's age with the, social media and the dirt sheets and everybody, the thing about social media is it gives everybody a fucking voice, and that's not necessarily good. So everybody wants to throw shade and throw out misinformation and things out of context. If you read a little snippet of something you don't like it, go to the original source and get the full context of the statement.
Here's the thing. I feel like we're all allowed to have a voice, but the problem is a lot of these journalists and a lot of these, wrestling news sites and, wrestling Twitter, of course, probably the most toxic place to be.
That's why I'm not on Twitter.
The problem is when it's all said and done, these journalists, they twist words around so that it becomes newsworthy. Just like, politics. It's the same thing. They love to, twist words around, certain people with what they say. Same thing with sports on ESPN. They do it all the time to, some of, the greatest athletes like LeBron James, Tom Brady. They do the same stuff all the time where they twist words. And that's just, a part of being a journalist and a media. And that's what sucks for, some of these wrestlers, especially we talked about it on, I believe, the latest episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast on, Sunday with CM Punk. Like a lot of his things, like he's very misunderstood because a lot of these journalists like Dave Meltzer, they have a personal, vendetta against CM Punk. And a lot of that has to do with the way he left WWE back in 2014.
Exactly. And like with the whole CM Punk thing, that's a whole nother story. I feel like, people are so mad about what he's been saying recently. But I mean, the guy's been quiet pretty much this entire time. This is like really the first time that he's really spoken up. And I mean, even though he is CM Punk, he is a celebrity, he's, a well-known figure. I mean, at the end of the day, the guy has every single right to fucking stick up for himself when he feels like his name is being dragged through the mud.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like, getting back into, Matt Cardona. I want the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, let us know how you guys feel about, the comments made by, Cardona. I think, Matt is doing a fantastic job. I don't think he needs AEW. I don't think he needs WWE. I believe in a recent interview as well with WWE, he said, like, he's never going to, put it to the side or put it away. But right now, it's just not his time. And that's something that, I said, I believe on I think it was a while ago, we did like an extra or like he was a topic on the podcast. And I remember mentioning that to you and Ben. I think it was towards the Royal Rumble where, you guys were, thinking that he was going to come back. But I knew that with all the things that's going on in his career right now, being on the Pro Wrestling Illustration, being ranked, I believe, 13, going from like being a guy on Superstars and like wrestling live events and main event to like now actually getting recognized for his work, and like also, having a successful podcast with, the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, and also doing a lot of other projects outside of wrestling, like the whole Broadway thing he's doing in, New York, and, pretty much being booked off the wazoo. I understand why Matt Cardona doesn't want to be in AEW or WWE. What he's doing right now is fantastic, and he's really, inspiring a lot of these young independent wrestlers and former WWE and AEW guys that, look, you don't need to be on TNT or TBS. You don't need to be a part of WWE. You can do this. And Matt Cardona has, shown more than anything that you can do it if you really put your mind to it.
But not gonna lie, man. This might just be me being selfish, me being a fan of Matt Cardona since he was, Long Island IC, with Zack Ryder. We've seen Zack Ryder's run. I want to see Matt Cardona's run in WWE. I do feel like if anybody can book him like a main event guy, it would be Triple H.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing with Matt Cardona. I think if he's going back to WWE, I know a lot of people say that, like he's going to come back as Matt Cardona. And I know he's even said it on an interview. But I think long term, like I don't think he's going to WWE anytime soon. But when he does, I think he will come back as Zack Ryder, but he's not going to get booked the way he got booked, previously. He's going to get booked more serious. And I think that they're really going to consider the stuff that he's pitching to them. Yeah. Because Zack Ryder was over. Remind you, Survivor Series 2011 in, the famous arena, Madison Square Garden, Rock and John Cena versus R-Truth and The Miz. And The Rock and John Cena win. The Rock goes to cut a promo after the match. What is the crowd chanting? Nothing about The Rock. We want Ryder. Yeah. And Zack Ryder, like, coming back to WWE, years from now, coming out to radio, like, it's all going to happen, I think, eventually, but it's not going to happen for quite a while because what he's doing right now, he's at the top of his game right now. And he's got a lot more, I think, that he's ready to prove.
Yeah, him and Brian Myers just posted a new toy hunt in England or something like that.
Yeah, man, they're getting booked overseas now. Dude, Cardona, he's absolutely killing it right now. Seriously.
He's probably making more money now than he did in his entire WWE run. Because if he wasn't being, financially taken care of doing what he's doing, he wouldn't be doing it. He would sign on that dotted line and go to Connecticut.
Yep, and one of the things that a lot of people don't realize and don't understand is a lot of these former WWE wrestlers, superstars, they know how to invest their money. I believe I saw this interview with Fandango on, Chris Van Vliet's podcast.
Yeah, he's getting into real estate.
That's what a lot of them do. They, pretty much rent apartments, rent houses, and that's how they make their money. And then they're able to do whatever they want to do. And that's something that a lot of these former WWE guys, I'm noticing that they're doing more and more when they get released.
That's what I would do. I get a big sum of money. I'd start investing in property and stuff like that. Because once you invest in property, there's a lot of tax write-offs you can get. And the income will just keep on coming in,
Exactly. It's the smartest way of living.
Pretty much.
But before, we get into our next, topic, we want, some of the We Are Wrestling Maniacs to, comment down below if there's anything you guys want us, to talk about. And
we got Real Aquaman. He's saying he's new to the stream.
That's right. What is going on, Real Aquaman? That's right. And we also got Kenneth here. And we also got Certified Passionate AFW, a.k.a. the Grim Reaper, saying what's up. What is going on?
What's going on, y'all?
Which we want to, let the We Are Wrestling Maniacs know that we are going to be doing James Jones saying sup. How's it going, James?
What's going on, man?
But we want to give you guys heads up that we are going to be having, a lot of live streams within the next couple of days. I know tomorrow night we're going to be doing a really cool, WrestleMania tier list rank 'em video where you guys will actually be able to help us rank, certain WrestleMania moments and stuff. That's going to be tomorrow. Friday, we got a SmackDown watch along live, both Danny H vlogs and the We Are Wrestling channel. Then on Saturday, Danny on his channel will be, doing a stream by himself for NXT Stand and Deliver. And of course, Saturday night and Sunday night here on the We Are Wrestling channel, WrestleMania night 1 and 2 watch along. It's going to be massive. And the best part is none of it's going to be spoiled because we're all going to be in the same room together and it's going to be a blast.
Exactly. And tonight, if you guys are so inclined, on my channel, Dan H Vlogs, I will be live at 7:45, man, doing my weekly AEW Dynamite watch along. If you guys watch AEW, come on over, interact with me. We'll talk, watch the show, hang out for a couple hours. It's going to be a good time.
That's right. And James just said, not much listening to all this unwanted wrestling drama lately. I hear you. And that's what we're doing here on this Extra. Because, of course, the We Are Wrestling channel, we love to cover the drama and give you guys our analysis on, things going on and really give you guys a different perspective on a lot of the wrestling news and stuff. Because a lot of people, I feel like that I watch and like I see, writing stuff. I always feel like I have to add something to what they're saying, whether I agree or disagree. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
Danny.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm sort of like, out of the three of us, I feel like I'm the most quiet when it comes to stuff. I don't usually like, associate myself too much with the drama, unless we're on here talking about it. But, I sit back and I observe everything. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. All right, so moving on now to our next extra for this week. And this also made some noise in the wrestling community, the IWC. Matt Hardy on, his podcast recently thinks that diehard fans think that they could book the shows better than the bookers that actually book the shows. So here's what Matt Hardy said, and I quote, "It's really intriguing concept that so many fans that consider themselves diehard fans, and this is no disrespect to them, but they are so caught up and captivated by the inner workings of the business and why things are happening." Damn, taking shots at us, Danny. They feel like they can book better than the bookers who actually run the show. It's so crazy now. Wrestling fans feel so entitled, especially the more diehard smart fans that are online. They feel entitled, like, no, my opinion counts. You're wrong and I'm right. That's very strange, but it is what it is. That's the world we live in today. So we just have to learn how to deal with it. But at the end of the day, Tony Khan is the guy flipping the bills. He makes the decisions. He's paying everybody. So it's his decisions to make. If he makes it, I will support him 100%. How do you feel about, the comments that were made by Matt Hardy, pretty much saying that us wrestling fans can't book a show better than Tony Khan, better than Billy Corgan, better than Scott D'Amore, better than Triple H?
I mean,
Better than Brett from GCW?
I feel like my 10-year-old daughter would be able to book a show better than Billy Corgan. So it's not really saying much. You know, I don't necessarily think that Matt Hardy was, taking shots at fans or whatever. Like, we know we've seen Matt Hardy a lot, different conventions and signings and shows or whatever, Northeast Wrestling and stuff like that. So we know that the amount of time that it's, him and his brother take, meeting the fans and stuff like that.
And can I just add something about that? Matt Hardy is one of, the most nicest wrestlers out there, and he is one of them that really interacts with his fans. Now you can continue.
Yeah. Yeah, so like, they will not leave the table unless every single person that went there to meet them
knows what's up.
gets to meet them. But I mean, Tony Khan was a fan. Billy Corgan was a fan. All these guys were fans before they became, bookers of the shows. So to say that, the fans don't really understand what it's like to book a show or whatever. I mean, TK's only been booking for 4 years. There's a lot of things wrong with AEW that we've talked about quite a bit on this show. Billy Corgan, I don't watch NWA. The fact that, I mean, all you need to know is that Tyrus is the NWA champion. That's all the context you need. But I don't take this to heart. I still like Matt. I'm still a fan of Matt. I don't think he was saying it in a malicious way. He's just stating his opinion. And I mean, guys that are actually in the business, he's been in the business 30-something years. I mean, if anybody has a right to say anything, it's guys like him, guys like Jericho, guys that have been in the mold. They've worked for everybody there is to fucking work with, pretty much.
Everybody's entitled for their own opinion.
Exactly. But like, I do feel like under these circumstances, guys like Matt and guys like Jericho, like they have like, special privileges. I feel like they can say whatever the fuck they want about regarding like booking shows and stuff like that, because they've worked for pretty much every single fucking booker, pretty much.
Yeah, because that's one thing that I feel like is forgotten in like today's wrestling. And like I always talk about this on the Old School versus New School podcast. Like back in the day, that's the thing. Like back in the day, respect was like earned, not given. And like the veterans, like, because some of these AEW guys, we see reports all the time that a lot of them don't want to take advice from the legends that they have. And I feel like the old school in me, I don't like that. I really don't, because they paved the way for you to lace a pair of boots and get in that ring and do, what they did.
But at the end of the day, and here's what I'm going to say about that is, we don't know if that's 100% accurate. We haven't heard from everybody in the fucking locker room. We haven't heard from, like, we read the dirt sheets, we read what people report. But I mean, we've seen a lot of cases to where, people get false information. So I do think it's unfair to say, that a lot of the AEW talent do that, because we don't know. We're not back there, bro. We're not backstage. We're not hanging out and having a cup of coffee with these guys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, from the reports I've heard from AEW wrestlers and stuff, because there have been multiple wrestlers, there have been multiple legends that have actually came out and said that. That's the only reason why, if the legends and, AEW personnels weren't saying this shit, then I wouldn't be acknowledging it here on the Extra.
Yeah.
But before I give my thoughts, I want to, throw some comments up here. So, James Jones, hey, what makes it worse with TK? We've seen all the mistakes and the other companies he made. He's still hitting WWE, fishing, hook, everyone.
Yeah.
And then we got Brian Cutler. What's going on? The WrestleMania stage looking fire. Absolutely. Mania's always looking fire.
I did see a leaked photo from SoFi Stadium of what it looks like. So it looks pretty fire.
All right. And we got, you think, ever since Uncle Howdy botched the elbow, Brady's return. I think he meant Bray Wyatt's return match was ruined. And his return in general.
I don't necessarily know if it's.
No, I don't know, man. I just think that they waited too long for him to actually wrestle at the Rumble. I think they should have had him wrestle a little bit sooner.
Apparently, from what I know,
and it doesn't help that he worked a cinematic match too. Should have been a regular match or something.
That's a lot. Like, Bray Wyatt really hasn't worked a regular match since he was, the backwoods, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt. But apparent from what a lot of people have said, I've read a lot of articles, and this goes back to the dirt sheets. Apparently, Bray Wyatt was a regularly performing on live events and house shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but obviously you already know that doesn't get talked about, because usually the house shows, and a lot of these old school fans would say this, the house shows were always like a way to get your rep up, and they always said the house shows never counted. The actual shows that were on TV or pay-per-views actually counted. But
you know what I'm kind of curious to know about. I don't think anybody will ever have this information. But everybody has, in the world of social media, whatever, you can put out anything out there in the world you fucking want, and it can be seen by millions of people. Yep. I don't understand why WWE hasn't utilized like streaming their live events on their YouTube channel.
Here's
Like,
why. Here's
don't-
why.
You don't
I'll
need
tell
a
you
big
why.
you don't need a big production for it. It's not like a Raw or SmackDown.
I'll tell you why, because this is something that I've always felt. I've always asked that because, of course, I grew up, in the era where, these things became such a toxic drug.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered that too. Like, I know a lot of independent wrestling shows out there now are doing the streaming thing, which is great. But for WWE, what they do the live events for is exactly what I was saying, where they want these wrestlers to get their reps in. They want them, to connect with the audience. This is their way of like getting their footwork in and seeing what works and what doesn't work without being really criticized by it. Because, of course, like with the live events, like I believe in Springfield around before New Day made their debut, they were doing this gimmick with them and they were testing it at live events to really see if like they can make this work. And like at different live events, they would tweak things to like see what's working and what's not. And that's something that like they like to do at these live events. They try different things. They give the wrestlers like a task to do, in front of like a small crowd to see if it will work. And then they eventually, if they notice something like LA Knight, that's why he's going to be getting the push after Mania, because the live events, he's been getting a very big, reaction from these live event crowds, which is very important because that's your way of connecting with the WWE universe.
Yeah, but I still think at some point they should utilize, streaming their live events because I mean,
I think some of the big ones they should, but I think they should be keeping them on the low because that's the best way to get your reps in.
they already post a lot of the footage on fucking Instagram and stuff like that. So why not fucking stream it?
Mm-hmm.
All you need is a guy with a fucking video camera, maybe some good audio. It's not like you need a huge production like Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, but it's just their way of getting reps in front of like a live crowd. And the difference between television shows and the live events is the live events, you're more interacting with those people that showed up to the live events than, TV. TV, you have to focus on the product. You have to focus on your storyline, your rivalry. That's your number one priority when you're on TV. But now, pretty much rewinding back to, the Matt Hardy topic here about the comments that he made. I think that there's nothing wrong with these, comments that he made at all. I think this is a great discussion because what Matt Hardy is saying is 100% accurate. It's 100% true. A lot of us, diehard wrestling fans out there, we are wrestling maniacs. We do think we can book better than a Billy Corgan or a Scott D'Amore or a Triple H or even a Tony Khan. And I think, I could book a better show than them. That's just me personally. But everybody feels that way. Like if you have a sports team, you feel like you could do a better job than the GM. And that's just how it is, in this world. Like even like working outside, like an outside job. Like if you're working something, sometimes you feel like you could do something better than the boss. But at the end of the day, that's just how this world goes. Everybody thinks that they could do stuff better than everybody else because that's just the confidence in us. And as a diehard wrestling fan, of course, I think I could book a better show than a lot of them. But at the end of the day, the thing that doesn't get discussed about this is realistically, I know for a fact that I wouldn't be able to handle over 200 talent like Tony Khan has to deal with Ring of Honor and AEW. That's a lot of morals that you got to keep, in check. You're going to have people that disagree.
You're not going to make everybody happy at the end of the day.
You're not going to make everybody happy. You're also going to have, creative differences, and you're not going to really see eye to eye with the person. And, you also have to do what's best for, the promoter, but you also want to do what's best for you. And sometimes it's a hard thing. Miro and Tony Khan right now. That's why we haven't seen Miro. They're having a lot of disagreements on the way things should be booked. And I feel like when it's all said and done, of course, all of us think that we could book shows better than AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact. But at the end of the day, it takes it does take a lot more than just booking the shows that a lot of people aren't talking about. And I think that's what Matt Hardy, is trying to bring up in this interview.
Yep. Again, it goes back to, listen to the full context, don't just read an article, actually, I mean, go on Matt Hardy's YouTube channel, watch the podcast, listen for yourself or whatever, so just don't take things out of context when somebody says something. I honestly don't think, Matt Hardy said anything like that to be, mad at fans or, be, an asshole to anybody, he's just speaking facts.
Absolutely. And of course, everybody's going to think that they can, book stuff better. And to be honest, that everybody's got their own view on things. So of course, everybody's going to think that they can book something better. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of, a lot of these bookers in today's wrestling, but I still, I take my hat off to them and I respect what they do because it is a lot of work. And I think Tony Khan, really does get criticized a little too much for his bad booking because a lot of people don't, realize that the man is not only running AEW, he's got a soccer team. He's also, running the Jacksonville Jaguars with his dad in the NFL. And he's also got like another thing he's doing. I wish Tony Khan would, have other people help him with the booking, but I don't know. When it comes, to it, Tony Khan's got a pretty hard job dealing with, over 200, wrestlers from both AEW and Ring of Honor with
And
a short amount of TV time.
And a lot of these guys, man, Tony Khan goes into like meetings with these guys knowing that in any instance, bro, these guys could literally snap Tony Khan in half. Dealing with pro wrestlers, bro, that are fucking like 250 pounds, fucking just nothing but muscle. I mean, very intimidating,
And that's the thing, everybody has their own way of, booking things like, like we were saying, a while ago, everybody has their favorite wrestler. We all have different favorite wrestlers in the business. So it's like somebody that I'm very high on, Karrion Kross. I'm sure I would book him a lot more different than how Triple H or Vince McMahon has booked him. Danny, you're very high on Bronson Reed. You'd book him a lot better than probably Triple H would book him. But at the end of the day, when we're saying these type of things, we're not talking about the overall show, like the production side of things. Like we're only talking about like the matches and like the way the show is, not like all the extra things that go into being a booker.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of booking and pro wrestling, man, I decided to wear this today and I found it in my drawer. I forgot I had it, man. Check this out.
Hey, Impact Wrestling, man. Wow. Always have to tip your hat off with TK. I wish he would let others help him so it takes loads off him like he's taking on too much. Absolutely.
Yep.
Crazy 101. That's why I wish Regal stayed in AEW because I would have made him the GM of Ring of Honor. Honestly, I would have that, but I also really liked him with the Blackpool Combat Club. He just like really added something to it. And like he was a really good manager, I felt like.
James Jones, I don't care. You're not professional until you ICP is on. I used to be a juggalo, man, back in the day. Back in like my high school days, man. Wore the clown makeup and stuff.
Well,
they didn't have Fago around where we live, though.
I don't care what you think. Sorry if this is lame. I just want ICP and AEW, TP, TP, make it WWE, WCW, TNA. Then them all make it all promotions, but I'm their employee, so I'm biased. Yep, I think we got a AEW guy that's on a burner account.
Oh God.
Imagine.
Imagine.
I'm a Finn Balor fan. So you see here, Brian Cutler, exactly. If you were booking your show, you probably would book Finn Balor better than other people would because that's your favorite wrestler.
Bro, a lot of people are not are excited for the Finn Balor and Edge match at Mania, and I'm just like, are you guys fucking stupid?
I'm excited for Edge versus Finn Balor, man. The storyline's been great, and I think that this match is going to be great as long as they don't do cinematic stuff.
I was watching somebody's prediction video because I do like to like see where everybody's head is going into Mania or whatever. That's a big thing with me. I love watching prediction videos for like all the different pay-per-views and stuff like that. Because I'm not only a pro wrestling podcaster, I am indeed a pro wrestling fan.
Mark.
And these people that I was watching, they were like, we're not excited for the build. We don't really think Edge and Finn Balor are gonna have that good of a match. I hope it doesn't go 20 minutes. And I'm like, are you guys fucking bro? I want to throw my chair at my TV. That's the stupidity of people, bro.
Yep. And I think that's like where like Matt Hardy at the end of the day is just really coming from, is that there's more to being a booker than booking the shows. And I think, this is a great, conversation starter because a lot of people, there really hasn't been a wrestler that has called anybody out on us fans, thinking that we're better bookers than the actual bookers. So I think it does create a good conversation. But,
I never once go back and listen to all the episodes of the podcast of the last year. I never once claimed to be, think I'm a booker, claimed, I could book the shows better than anybody else. But I do watch like AEW and WWE. I do watch the shows every week, on my YouTube channel. Day and Age Vlogs. Make sure you guys subscribe, check it out.
ooh, hold up.
So what?
Before, we get into the John Moxley thing, honestly, I like this.
What?
Crazy 101. Real quick, do you think CM Punk will return to AEW? The reason why I wanted, before you go, Danny, and before we give our thoughts on that, the reason why I think that this is a good topic for us to talk about here on the live is because it's not a WWE topic. We want to save WWE, of course, for Friday, the night before WrestleMania night 1 and 2.
Yep.
And we just did an episode on the recent episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast on CM Punk's, Instagram story and all the drama going on there. But we never really talked about now if we think CM Punk should return because, there's been interviews and stuff coming out lately where a lot of these, journalists are saying that, a lot of these wrestlers, don't want CM Punk back in AEW and they would not be happy if he comes back. Do you think CM Punk's going to return?
I do. I think Tony Khan would be a fucking idiot if he didn't, I mean, it's a proven fact that CM Punk is still a draw. He's still a main event guy. He's been quiet ever the media scrum thing happened in what, beginning of September, August, sometime around there. He's remained relatively quiet from the whole thing. And everybody has been doing nothing but talking about CM Punk the last couple of months. He's still one of the top selling merch guys on pro wrestling tees. Like, the amount of money that this guy could draw for AEW, I do feel like, part of me does feel like the shows have suffered since CM Punk has been on them. Just because he gives that, we have MJF and stuff like that, and that's cool.
It's because you don't know what you're going to expect from CM Punk when he comes out.
Exactly. And with CM Punk is almost like the baby face version of MJF, to where they're very real. They stay in character. You never know what's real and what's not with them. You know what I mean? And I feel like you need that contrast. And CM Punk is still like, when he left WWE, bro, for years, CM Punk never talked to anybody, never did anything wrestling related. Oh, CM Punk coming back. Is CM Punk coming back? Is CM Punk coming back? Is CM Punk coming back? Like, bro, Tony Khan will be a fucking moron if he does not bring CM Punk back. And there has to be a reason why he hasn't released him from his contract yet.
Well, the reason why they haven't released him from his contract is because both AEW and CM Punk would be losing money. That's why they would have to either agree to a buyout or he would have to ride out the rest of his contract.
Bro, Tony Khan could have released this guy. He could have.
No, but then that would affect CM Punk because he is making a lot of money.
Bro, he's making more money on that fucking heel show and stuff like that. But trust me, Pete, you think CM Punk only has AEW? The dude has so many fucking ways of making money. It's
It's
ridiculous.
just the way, but it's the way contracts and stuff work. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. TK would have released this guy if he had no interest in bringing him back to TV. And my stance on that has not changed since the very beginning. I don't
Yeah,
give
but
a
also
fuck what
Tony
anybody
Khan's not
says.
going to release people, Danny, because he doesn't want to, do what WWE does. That's why it's very rare to see, Tony Khan release or, suspend somebody.
My thought does
Which
not change,
sometimes
bro.
I feel like he needs to. Like with Andrade and Miro, like if you're not going to use them, just let them go.
Yep.
I do agree with what you're saying, though. But now, my thoughts on the whole, CM Punk. Should he return to AEW? Absolutely.
Punk has
He
been
should
talking
return to
to
AEW.
Punk has he had a meeting in, I think he had a meeting in January, and he was supposed to have another meeting with Tony Khan in February or whatever, around the time Jerry Jarrett died. But the meeting got put on hold. So he has been talking to Tony Khan. Again, it makes me think even further that CM Punk is coming back to AEW, and I would say he should be back there within the next month, because he is very close to clearing up and getting his injury all set.
Here's the thing with CM Punk. Now, I do want CM Punk to return to AEW. CM Punk has expressed interest in coming back to AEW, and if somebody like CM Punk, that caliber of a main event star, is saying he wants to come back to AEW, despite all the things that happened during the brawl out with the Elite, and also with Chris Jericho calling him a cancer in the locker room, to now all of this shit going on with Jon Moxley that we're going to be getting into later on in this extra. That tells you a lot about his character, and I think at the end of the day, CM Punk wants to make things right. And I think what he needs to do when he comes back to AEW on that first Dynamite, because obviously I think he comes back at like Double or Nothing, needs to, come out to the ring with an open microphone and either, apologize to the boys and girls out back and make things right and, come back as a babyface, or flip the script. Behind the scenes, obviously make things right with everybody, but start an angle, make some money off of this shit.
Exactly. And especially with AEW doing live events now, like non-televised, do you realize how many tickets would get sold if you had CM Punk on the marquee? CM Punk is such a mega star, bro. Former WWE champion, main event WrestleMania, wrestled The Undertaker in one of Undertaker's last WrestleMania matches. CM Punk is still a main event fucking guy.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing about CM Punk, is obviously he's opinionated, but a lot of these words that, the media, they're twisting things around that Punk is saying. Why do you think Jon Moxley on his podcast, on the Renee, podcast, he basically didn't really acknowledge the whole CM Punk situation, because he knows the bullshit with the media and stuff. He knows what's going on at the end of the day. And Jon Moxley, if you think Jon Moxley and CM Punk hate each other, then you must not know anything, because who is one of Renee's best friends? Renee Paquette, his wife. CM Punk. Exactly.
Yep. And everybody's saying this whole Chris Jericho calling CM Punk a cancer thing has been getting thrown around a lot. But if I remember correctly, didn't Jericho recently quote tweet somebody and saying that he loved working with CM Punk?
Yep. He still follows him on Instagram too. And that's the thing. A lot of people, they like to twist things around.
Again,
that's how it works.
I talked about this on the recent episode of the podcast, episode 51. Make sure you guys go check it out if you guys want. I'm not going to go into my whole spiel again. Go back if you want full context. But this whole thing is so close to being cleared up. The media scrum happened back in September, August. Why all of a sudden now is this bullshit coming out about how CM Punk didn't want a job to Moxley? Why now is it coming out? It should have came out months ago, when everybody was talking about fucking CM Punk and the whole situation. But now the guy's so close to making a return. Now it gets fucking brought up in the discussion.
Yep. And remind you too, A lot of people were talking about how Kenny Omega and CM Punk hate each other when, I guess, after the brawl out thing, the news came out recently that they actually talked after the whole thing happened.
Yeah.
That never was talked about at all until now.
Nope. People love fucking drama, bro. People love drama. People love stirring the pot. Especially all these journalists out there that think they're doing a good thing by, letting people know what the fuck is up. But in reality, they're making everybody's life a living fucking hell. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what's true and what's not. You're going off of one guy's word over, like I don't know.
I want to add something to that though. And as a wrestling podcaster, we talk about all the news. We talk about all the rumors. And when, these things come up, we have to talk about them and we have to give our analysis. We have to give our opinion on it.
We don't claim to have sources and stuff like that to where we're like feeding information to people.
But here's the part that I want to say, though.
We're talking about it.
Here's the part that I want to say. But then when things like this come out months later, it makes us fucking podcasters look fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Because the journalists, they want to fucking pretty much, control like puppets on a string. They want to fucking stir the pot. They want to freaking throw it around everywhere.
At the end of the day,
but that's how you get eyes on the news and all that
At
shit.
the end of the day, yes, like we look up to these guys, like we watch them on TV every week. At the end of the day, they're fucking human, just like any of us. And I don't know about you, but if somebody was talking shit about me, I would either be swinging or talking shit on social media. So Punk, Moxley, whoever the fuck it is, if their name is being dragged in the mud, they have every single fucking right, just like everybody else in America, to speak up for themselves and defend themselves.
Exactly.
I don't give a shit who you are.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like nowadays, a lot of people are, they aren't allowed to speak their mind. They're not allowed to respond to something immediately. It's you're guilty. What happened to, the quote, like you're innocent until proven guilty.
Mm-hmm. That's not
there's some
in
people,
the world of social
there's
media.
some people with, the whole allegation stuff like Nash Carter.
Look at Enzo. Enzo got accused of sexual assault. Turns out they did a thorough investigation. He got proven innocent, but still, I mean, he'll never work in WWE or AEW. He'll never have like a big time contract again. Because some crackhead decided to put out false information and accuse this guy of something, and in reality, it never fucking happened. And she was just looking for a fucking payday.
Yep, exactly.
It's sad when people can say one thing and it could potentially ruin another person's fucking life, bro. It's fucking sick.
And that's why I mean, like, everybody's, innocent until proven guilty. And that's the problem with, today's generation, is that they like to jump to conclusions with things. And that's like why, the wrestling community is more toxic than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because of course, these journalists now, they're trying to get more subscribers and their Patreons, and they're trying to get more, clicks and more likes and more shares. But reality, we just want you guys to just, give us the truth, just do your job. And like, stop trying to twist things around. Like, instead of listening to 2 minutes of the interview, if you are really interested in knowing what the person said, how about you watch the entire thing, pay attention to their body language, really, listen and actually, pay close attention to what these, these interviewers and what these wrestlers are saying before you, make your own opinion. Stop listening to Dave Meltzer and all of these other journalists out there. Come up with your own opinion instead of listening to, these people or, even us, which, like
we don't.
But here's the thing. We watch these interviews and we develop our own opinion on it. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can listen to what we're saying, but at the end of the day, what we want we are wrestling maniacs and, fans to do in the wrestling community is, instead of listening to Dave Meltzer and what he's saying and then just, following, being a follower, come up with your own opinion. How you feel about the match. Why do you have to listen to what Dave Meltzer has to say?
Exactly. And
That's
I mean,
my issue.
another instance of this whole situation, and
Mm.
it's probably not somebody that I should necessarily bring up, but Velveteen Dream. Though he has a lot of other problems, let's face it, the dude is whacked out of his fucking mind.
Just like
But
Marty
when
Jannetty.
But when he got accused of, messaging that underage female, WWE, with as much money as they have, they're a conglomerate company, they would not leave any stone unturned. They did a thorough investigation and he was found innocent. But yet the IWC found him automatically guilty because of association with it being a minor child. And he will never wrestle for a big company again. And again, it goes back to social
I don't
media.
even think we're gonna be seeing him on independent shows, man.
It goes back to
Sad.
the fucking Davey, what's his name? Davey Richards.
Yep, Davey Richards, that was the recent one.
That's another thing. Like, that's the bad thing about social media, like we said earlier, bro. It gives everybody a voice, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Because they read one snippet of an article or whatever, and they automatically, oh, he's guilty. He's guilty. He did this. He's a scumbag. He's a child molester. He's this and that. Like, it's social media. Although it's good in certain ways, it gives people like us a platform, to express our opinions on pro wrestling. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of people I feel like they shouldn't have access to it because of their stupid, idiotic opinions that, these other idiots fucking listen to.
Yeah, they take freedom of speech for granted.
Exactly, man. So.
All right. So, we've been talking about it for a while, how we felt, and I think they all understand. Instead of dragging it on,
Yeah.
I'd say, let's get into, John Moxley's interview with Renee Paquette on Oral Sessions.
I watched the interview. I didn't know the interview came out on audio in the morning.
Me either, man. I was wondering, I was seeing all these articles and I was seeing all these quotes from the interview on Twitter, and I was wondering, this isn't supposed to be coming out until 4:00.
Exactly. I don't like listening to podcasts. I like watching the podcast because it makes me feel like it's like, it's almost like I'm part of the conversation. It's just more personable to me, so I like watching them.
Me too. I think that's why I haven't put We Are Wrestling on Spotify and Apple, which I need to do.
A little behind the scenes thing. We are going to be starting doing these and making the audio versions of these podcasts.
There will be audio visions of this.
But so I watched the interview last night when I was laying in bed.
Me too.
It was pretty much John Moxley just sitting there, talking to Renee. Obviously, he chews tobacco, so.
That's something that my fiance noticed too, because we both were watching it, and she's like, "Is he chewing tobacco?" I'm like, "Yep, that's John Moxley."
Bro, he's from fucking Cleveland or Cincinnati, man. Of course he's got to fucking chew tobacco. So they talked about one thing that I feel like a lot of people are talking about, because I've heard this a lot too, is John Moxley talking about how last summer he was working without a contract and he was AEW champion. And he mentioned, he was like, I could have gone to, I was working SummerSlam weekend. I could have went, walked on to SummerSlam with the AEW title. People took that out of fucking proportion.
But then they didn't listen to what he said afterwards, saying, I wouldn't do that because that's not the type of person I am.
Exactly, but
just an example he's throwing.
That one little section, bro. They took it and ran with it just so they can get clicks on their website. And then talking about how AEW is full of drama and he's never worked with another company that more filled and riddled with drama than I have now in my entire life. Again, people took that and ran with it. Oh, John Moxley hates AEW.
Yep, even though if he hated AEW, then why the fuck would he sign a 5-year extension?
Exactly. And he even says in the podcast that he fucking loves the place and he loves working for Tony Khan.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You got to listen to the whole things before you make your opinions.
It's on Renee's YouTube channel, man. I encourage all of you guys to go listen to it before you guys come up with some kind of a ridiculous opinion on social media.
And I'll tell you this right now. that was such a good interview because Jon Moxley is just so genuine.
He does not do
and he just
interviews.
does not care.
And you could tell he was just laid back because it was just him and his wife having a conversation. That's how you get the most information out of somebody, making it an intimate setting. You know, it wasn't anything fancy. It looked like they were just sitting in their bedroom. He had his feet up. You know, it was just him and his wife having a conversation. And
that's
what's
why I think
great
I
about
love
this.
Chris Van Vliet so much because, like, he doesn't really try to get the drama out of the wrestlers.
Yeah.
Like, he just loves to have just a nice conversation with them.
Moxley
And those are the
doesn't do a lot
podcasters
of
I enjoy.
Moxley doesn't do a lot of interviews at all, though. You never see him do any kind of like interviews or anything like that. Remember the one that he did with
Don't
Chris
blame
Van
the
Vliet?
guy.
Remember when he did the one with Chris Van Vliet and he was just so awkward and he was like he didn't know what to say and he was just sitting there with his leather jacket and just chilling there in the chair.
Yep.
Like
and then same with Stone Cold, man. Like he
Yep.
got a lot of heat for that whole podcast there that he did with Stone Cold on the Broken Skulls WWE when he was champion.
Moxley has always been about the pro wrestling. He doesn't care about celebrity status. He doesn't care about being famous. He doesn't care about being well known. He cares about what happens in that 20x20 ring at the end of the day. And it definitely shows whenever he does any kind of media because he just seems very, very awkward at it. Like he doesn't know what to say. You know what I mean?
And that's the thing, man. Like, my thoughts, on the whole interview. Like, if you haven't checked it out, seriously recommend you guys check it out on Renee's
Definitely.
YouTube channel because it was such, a genuine, good conversation.
Congratulations to them too. They talked about getting a new cat. So congratulations to them.
Yep. And Moxley was talking about how the freaking cat's going to be a mouse killer. And then one day the mouse is going to, the cat's going to bring a dead mouse to Renee and scare the shit out of her. And it's funny because I have a fear for mice just like Renee does. So I was like really laughing at that. That was great.
And apparently Moxie's pillowcases are filled with nothing but blood. And he loves eating ice cream. He loves eating ice cream in bed.
Yep. That sounds like a Jon Moxley thing, though.
But, like, that's the cool thing about this interview, bro. It was just him and his wife just sitting down having a casual conversation, you know?
And I love seeing the real side of Jon Moxley, too. Like, I really like it. Like, behind the violence, I really like seeing it. And, like, he understands the business. One thing that I really enjoyed in this interview a lot that's not being talked about was, his desire to, not be a producer, but like eventually, wanting to be a coach.
Yep.
And he, praised Marina Shafir and, made some pretty valid points there. And like, it's kind of cool to see somebody like Jon Moxley having somebody who's green like Marina, who doesn't really have much experience in AEW under, his wing and teaching her little things that she could do to be better.
I could honestly see, like, since he was talking about Marina Shafir, I could definitely see her being, like, the female counterpart in Blackpool Combat Club.
She could, and he was totally right when he was saying, like, she does bring something different. Like, I said this. She has so much potential.
She
Moxley
does, like, kickboxing
literally said that, but she just needs to get the pieces to the puzzle together.
Yeah, she does like kickboxing and stuff like that, and she's a real badass. So, I mean, if there's any female in AEW that fits in the Blackpool Combat Club, I would definitely say it's Marina Shafir.
Mm-hmm.
And if she was surrounded by guys like Moxley and Claudio, and I don't know what like the status between Bryan Danielson and Blackpool Combat Club is, but like if she's surrounded by those guys, I do feel like that'll help her get her out of the trenches and help her, develop who she wants to be in this.
But they just got to let her keep getting her, working.
Moxley also said,
AEW's doing these house shows. They got to have her wrestle these house shows. Let her get her reps in before she gets into something like that.
Moxley also said that he's building like a gym for the Blackpool Combat Club. I remember him talking about that.
Yep.
So, I mean, I would definitely be game for that, I mean, if you're not gonna have any other room for she doesn't necessarily fit anywhere else on the show. She's just so unique compared to a lot of the other women on in AEW. I
and
feel
that's
like
all it is. She has the pieces. She has it. But the problem is now she needs to find those puzzle pieces and put them together. And once she completes the puzzle, then she's going to be one of them women that we really got to pay attention to. And, maybe she could become a future TBS champion or even a women's world champion.
I could see that, man. Imagine her and Chris Statlander, because obviously Jade Cargill, she's not dropping the title until Chris Statlander comes back.
Mhm.
But I could see Chris Statlander and Marina Shafir having some kind of feud going for the TBS title.
That's what I'm saying, and, like, it's cool to see Jon Moxley perspective on things too.
Yep.
Like, even talking about, like, noticed Marina wrestling at one of, the independent shows that Jon Moxley wrestles at, and she wrestled barefoot. And, like, he, was noticing, like, okay, like, something like that, like, little details. That was, like, what, for me in the whole interview that I was really intrigued with, because I could see Jon Moxley, eventually, trying to do something like the Heart Dungeon with, his gym.
Yep, definitely.
He's very passionate about the pro wrestling, which is awesome to see.
Yep. And like Jon Moxley, like, people give him a lot of crap for like, bleeding and, being like, more into the violence and pro wrestling aspect or whatever. But he just seems like such a normal guy. Like I don't drink, I haven't drank a beer in God, probably like 4 or 5 years. But like he honestly does seem like somebody you could, go to the bar with and have a couple drinks and just sit down and just chill with. You know what I mean? He doesn't seem like he's, just because he is Jon Moxley, he doesn't come off as arrogant. He doesn't come off as egotistical. He doesn't come off as a scumbag that, oh, I'm better than everybody else. I'm Jon fucking Moxley, fuck you. He doesn't come off like that. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, and one thing that's cool too is like how he like drinks like the non-alcoholic drinks too.
Yeah.
Which I saw like an older oral sessions with Renee, and like he talked about that, like why he does that, and like it helps him.
Yeah,
which is pretty
and
cool.
he also talked about how AEW extended his contract because obviously he was off of TV for a while. He went to rehab or whatever, and then he came back. And he talked about that, and he's happy that AEW extended his contract. That way, he doesn't feel like he owes anybody anything.
Yeah, and one of the quotes too that like was also mentioned a lot in this, podcast with Renee was him pretty much saying like how in the independents he's done stuff, WWE's done stuff, but he's never been like in a place that's had more drama than AEW. And a lot of people are running with that.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning. People heard that and they were like, "Oh, Jon Moxley's talking shit about AEW." I guarantee you, I don't have a Twitter, like I said, but I guarantee you, bro. After the podcast dropped, that's all that was on fucking Twitter. I guarantee it.
Yep. And also, he also praised the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega as well.
Yep.
As well, which was pretty cool to see.
And people automatically assume like when the podcast came out, because obviously Renee put CM Punk in the title, which I don't blame her. I mean, we're content creators. We
gotta do what you gotta do, man.
we know how the fucking game is. But I guarantee you, people listen to the podcast thinking that Jon Moxley was gonna take 20 minutes to just trash CM Punk. He barely mentioned him. I don't even think he ever mentioned him by name in the podcast.
He didn't, because he knows what's going on with, the media. Him and Punk, they're cool. Friggin', Renee and AJ, his, CM Punk's wife, they're cool. And, Renee and CM Punk are like best friends.
Yeah.
So if you think Jon Moxley and CM Punk hate each other, no.
Yeah.
And then like there's like these reports too that are saying like how if these wrestlers backstage had to pick between Jon Moxley and CM Punk, they would pick Jon Moxley. Where the fuck did this shit come from? Tell me who said this.
This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Nobody said it. That's why.
And
it's all of a sudden a thing.
I listen to like a lot of podcasts in the community, and I've not heard anything like that. So I don't fucking know, bro.
Yeah, but man, like Jon Moxley, it was a very good interview, and like I knew it was gonna be just a genuine conversation. He's laid back, and I knew CM Punk, like it was not gonna be really anything.
No, absolutely not. People like to spin things and take things out of proportion, and without getting the full context of things. Yeah. It's just, if that's people's prerogative, whatever, but it's not ours. And you can assure everybody that's listening to us, everybody that's watching us right now, first of all, we thank you. We're literally at little over 3,600 subscribers. We thank you guys very much. But one thing you guys
Absolutely.
can assure is we will never clickbait you. We will never give out false information. We will never, ever do anything to negatively impact somebody else's life. So
Mhm.
you can you'll get the 100% truth from us whenever we have the truth. So
And that's the thing that I love doing on the We Are Wrestling, channel. I love having these discussions. I love, giving our thoughts on the things going on in the wrestling community, whether it's news, whether it's, rumors, doing watch alongs, doing vlogs, going to these wrestling conventions and wrestling shows. I love doing all of this. And if it wasn't for, the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there, like, I don't know where I'd be right now. Seriously, you guys have supported us so much within this past year that, you guys have really grown this community to be something special. And that's the thing. Like, we're never going to clickbait stuff. We're never going to give you guys false information. That's why, if it's a rumor, we always try to say, when I bring up the topics, oh, this here is just a rumor. This is not 100% confirmed. So you got to take it with a pinch of salt. But as wrestling fans and wrestling maniacs like you guys that, are subscribed to the channel, or even if you're not subscribed to the channel and you watch our content, at the end of the day, we're still fans. And that's why we need to open these conversations up and give our analysis and our opinions on the bullshit Dave Meltzer says, the things going on in the wrestling community with CM Punk, even though it's getting repetitive at this point, Roman Reigns in the bloodline, like, we have to cover all of this stuff.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, we want you guys to know we try to talk about this stuff because it creates discussion. It opens up conversations. And something like, for me, being on wrestling Twitter, seeing all the toxicity going on, like, it's not fun. But
You're
when
a
I come
brave
on,
you're a brave man for being on there, by the way.
but when it comes to like talking here on We Are Wrestling, I feel like I can just be real to you and Ben, and I can be real to the We Are Wrestling Maniacs and really give my thoughts on stuff. And like, even if you agree or disagree, I'm still being respected for my opinion.
Exactly. That's what we do at the end of the day. We encourage everybody that watches us to, form your own opinion. Don't listen to one source. If somebody says something and you want full context, go to the original source, search it out. You can find fucking anything on the internet. You know what I mean? So, just take your time, do your research, come up with your own opinions, and stop feeding into people that give you false narratives, because it never ends well.
All right. And Crazy 101. When do you think AEW Fight Forever will be released?
I heard at the end of March, which is it's the end of March now. Then I heard at the end of 2023. I have no idea. But I just made a Kick account. I don't know if you guys, it's kind of like Twitch, it's like a new thing. And I'm gonna be doing a lot of gaming streams over there. Just search up my name on there if you want to follow me. And apparently they're very lenient when it comes to copyright stuff. So like, maybe I'll go on there once in a while and we'll watch like wrestling videos and stuff like that, and other stuff. So follow me on there. But once that video game does come out, I'm gonna be doing some live streams over there, man. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. And last one that we're going to do before we close this off, James Jones. Crazy. Yeah, it was Brian and Dave. They're killing the company and they don't realize. Yep.
And SRS, Sean Rossap, yeah.
Yep.
I will say,
I like Sean Ross Sapp.
I listen to Sapp a lot. Although I don't agree with everything that he says, like when it comes to like, how he would book certain people. So far he like everything that he's really stated when it comes to like, somebody returning, somebody, getting released, whatever. Like, when it comes to any kind of pro wrestling like inside news, I've been listening to him for over a year and I haven't heard anything that like he wasn't spot on about. You know what I mean? Dave Meltzer, on the other hand, though he has the longevity in doing this. A lot of people, especially a lot of people inside the business, are very,
and there's a difference between
around him.
and there's a difference between the way Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer put out reports. Dave Meltzer just will stir whatever he can to get clicks. Sean, on the other hand, he actually has the genuine connections with AEW and WWE to get us the most accurate news out there. And
Exactly.
Sean Ross Sapp doesn't really, clickbait people into clicking things, unlike Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer, he finds like a little quote like, what we were seeing in the John Moxley thing. He'll run with it. Sean, on the other hand, he will actually, fully go into details about what's going on before he, gives his opinion. I always, respect that about Sean.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other ones, they're definitely killing the business. But,
Absolutely.
And lastly, y'all are always on point. That's why I tune into y'all. Just want wrestling to be great. Exactly.
Absolutely, man. At the end of the day, just because we have a platform like this, any of you guys could do this, man. Get together with some friends, record yourself talking about wrestling. It's very easy. At the end of the day, me and Donnie and Ben, like we're fans. We just so happen to enjoy this business so much that we felt the need to want to talk about it, and that's why we started We Are Wrestling, and that's what we strive to do. We never claim to have inside knowledge. We never claim to be in the business. We're just fans at the end of the day, and we hope that we can entertain you and give you guys some kind of knowledge or whatever, so.
Absolutely. And I think you said it best. Perfect way to end this, but I'm going to end it off like this. At the end of the day, I'm a fucking wrestling mark, and I'm okay with that.
Absolutely, man. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, Danny H Vlogs. I will be live in about 2 hours, man, watching AEW Dynamite.
What about We Are Wrestling, dipshit?
What? Well, subscribe to We Are Wrestling too, obviously. if you guys are fucking here, bro, I would imagine you're already fucking subscribed. What are you guys doing?
What are you guys doing? If you guys enjoyed this live stream, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, or Dandiac, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Danny and I on our social medias and other YouTube pages. In addition, you want shorter clips, we're posting them daily over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. All the links down below. And of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, remember, tomorrow we'll be doing a live Rankem where we're going to be doing a tier list for WrestleMania. And, of course, Friday we're going to be doing the watch along for SmackDown. And immediately after that, a live episode of the We Are Wrestling podcast where we'll be talking about WWE topics before WrestleMania. And the 2-night watch along, Saturday and Sunday, all in person. But, of course, you already know, we are taking over. Peace.